Hello and welcome, my dear friend. See, you were never born to chase scraps, and deep down you always knew it. Even when you had nothing in your hands, you carried the feeling that more, invisibly but irreversibly, into your story. This isn't delusion. This is memory. Because before the world taught you how to survive by shrinking, God already planned for you to be sustained by being fully yourself. And now, the time has come. This isn't about hustle. This isn't about proving your worth. This is the moment where heaven begins to fund what it formed. Not the mask, not the imitation, but the real you, the one who chose the narrow road and stayed. You're not being rewarded because you played the game. You're being funded because you refused to. You walked away from platforms that wanted your talent but not your truth. You chose sacred over flashy. You stayed poor in ego but rich in alignment. And now the compensation is catching up. This isn't a check for your performance. It's a divine endorsement of your becoming. Because when God pays you, it's not hourly, it's heavenly. And the currency? Favor, position, ease where there used to be friction, doors where there used to be walls, anointing that creates access money can't even buy. They won't understand how you're walking into overflow without a formula, without a sponsor, without the grind culture blueprint. But you didn't skip steps. You held still when everything in you wanted to rush. You watched others speed ahead while your soul stayed in the shadows. You gave up chasing validation, and God wrote your name into an inheritance no algorithm could block. This is bigger than income. This is impact. And God is the only one who saw how much it cost to get here. The days you wanted to give up but didn't. The seasons you watched others get celebrated while you felt invisible. The years you carried weight in silence that would have crushed most people who pretend to have it all together. You didn't miss the moment. You were being built in a way that couldn't collapse later. It's like the way certain stars don't appear when you expect them to, not because they're not shining, but because they're behind layers of time and distance so vast, only the right conditions can reveal their light. You weren't invisible. You were just waiting for the atmosphere to catch up to your frequency. And now that it has, the glow is unmistakable. While people mistook your stillness for delay, God was forming a foundation strong enough to carry a flood of favor. You weren't just surviving lean seasons. You were learning how to breathe without begging, how to show up without pretending, how to move without needing applause. And now, you're about to be paid to exist as that version of you. Not the edited one, not the pleasing one, the aligned one. The one that's been through the fire and didn't come out bitter. The one who lost everything and still stayed kind. The one who didn't trade authenticity for attention, even when it felt like the only way to move forward. And here's the part no one teaches you. Heaven waits until you're whole enough to hold what won't break you. That's why it felt like nothing was coming. That's why the breakthrough delayed, even though you were faithful. It wasn't punishment. It was precision. God didn't want to give you wealth just for your hands. He wanted to give it to your soul. Wealth that feels like breathing instead of bargaining. Wealth that doesn't demand you become a version of yourself you can't sleep with at night. Wealth that whispers, "You're safe now." And that kind of wealth doesn't arrive early. It arrives right on time. Now something is shifting. You can feel it in the atmosphere, the tension before a wave breaks, the inhale before the exhale. It's not loud yet, but it's unmistakable. Because the reward that's coming isn't loud and dramatic, it's undeniable. And the moment it lands, you won't need to convince anyone of who you are. Your life will do the talking. Your rest will become the revelation. Your peace will become the proof. Because when God funds a life, it carries a glow that no marketing strategy can replicate. And that's what's next. The era of trying is ending. The era of receiving for who you really are is here. And when it starts arriving, it's not going to feel like payment for a service. It's going to feel like a cosmic recognition, a nod from heaven itself saying, "You didn't fold, you didn't morph, you stayed planted. Now watch the soil open." Because what's coming to you isn't just for bills or survival. It's wealth tied to identity, to truth, to purpose. It will feel strange at first, how ease begins to replace the tension you've lived with for years. How rooms start opening without you kicking the door down. How provision starts showing up before the pressure arrives. Not as a bribe, but as confirmation. Because for the longest time, you only knew how to perform for worth, to prove value through exhaustion, to earn love by being useful. But this chapter, it's about being seen without sacrifice, supported without begging, valued without shrinking. This is not the season of just enough. This is the arrival of more than enough. And not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of soul who could carry it without turning it into ego. You've been trusted with people's pain. Now you're being trusted with joy. You've been assigned to broken places. Now you're being called into beautiful ones. And no, not everyone will understand how it's happening. They'll look for strategy. They'll try to reverse engineer your steps. They'll ask you what app, what platform, what connection flipped the switch. But they won't find a formula. Because this blessing didn't come from method. It came from maintenance. You maintained faith. You maintained character when no one was looking. You didn't let the wilderness harden your heart or twist your values. And that is why it's flowing now. This wealth, it doesn't have strings. It doesn't come with manipulation or identity loss. It won't require you to shapeshift or perform, because it's not a wage, it's a reward, not a trade, a testament. And the proof is in how it feels. You don't feel frantic about it. You feel calm. You feel open. You feel rooted. And that calmness, that's a new frequency of receiving. Because receiving doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with deep stillness, a knowing that the war has turned, that the long drought has finally given way to rivers that don't stop halfway. This is when heaven begins to sponsor your peace, your rest, your joy. You're not being paid to perform. You're being paid because of what you carry, because of who you are when no one is clapping, because of the light you protected in the darkest parts of your story. And now, that light is turning into overflow. Opportunities that feel like alignment, not obligation. Provision that feels like destiny, not debt. Surroundings that elevate your peace, not drain your life force. You're entering a season where ease and excellence walk together, where you're no longer the underdog because heaven doesn't see you as one. You're a pillar, not a project. You're a steward, not a struggler. And when people ask how it happened, you won't have a 5-step answer. You'll simply say, "I stayed when it was hard. I walked when it didn't make sense. And I never let bitterness kill the promise." That's wealth. Wealth isn't just money in your hands. It's the peace in your spirit when everything's already taken care of. It's waking up without dread. It's knowing your name is aligned with something sacred and unstoppable. So stand up taller, speak slower, feel the gravity of the moment you're stepping into. You're not hustling for scraps. You're hosting abundance. You're not begging to be seen. You're being positioned to be honored. You're not surviving the page. You're stepping into the headline heaven already wrote for you. And you're not just being paid to exist. You're being celebrated for enduring without becoming bitter. You're being elevated for choosing the hard, quiet roads. You're being rewarded for loving when it felt like loss. So let it in, the wealth, the support, the recognition. Not because you need it to prove anything, but because God said it's time. And when heaven says it's time, even the gates you never thought would open swing wide. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.